Xbox Series X. Let me show you what's going on. And as you can see, we have a little bit of a busted up HDMI port here. I have really had to adjust my approach to this. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you my updated procedures. For your orientation purposes, we're working on the bottom board, and then we'll be flipping over the board and working in this area. Going forward, I will be using the TS8280 preheater for all my work on the Series X. I have had the occasional issues come up, and I have found that it is better to warm up the board and work it than try to do it cold on the bench. First thing I'm going to do is warm up the board, and once this flux becomes less gel and more liquid, we will proceed with low melt of the anchors. I'll be using a preheat temperature of 170 degrees on the board. While it's preheating, I'm going to set up my equipment. Let me throw up my expected temperatures for this job. These temperatures are brought to you by the Amazon associate links in the description. If you go to my video description and click on one of these links and buy any of this equipment, a small portion of that purchase will go to supporting the channel. And I greatly appreciate you. It won't cost you an extra dime. We've warmed up enough to begin. And we want this to get to the other side, so we want to rub it in a little bit so that it climbs up the leg and we'll draw solder to the other side. It's difficult to do without the preheater on this board. It is a gigantic block of copper basically. Now we're going to flip the board. I always low melt the pins, even though there are hidden anchor joints on this that make it difficult to remove anyway. You're very unlikely to pull pads, and they will wet very quickly with this low melt. And now using stated temperatures, we're going to bring the sauce. The first thing you'll see wet is the pins because it's all low melt, and they'll stay that way for a long time. Okay, we'll start concentrating in on these anchors, getting them to loosen up a bit. Already loosening up, that's great. That means we got good feed through, and we've already broken the plastic, which is awesome. We're still going to be very careful here, and voila, right off the board. This plastic and these hidden anchors are what make this port challenging, and will be greatly aided by the low melt we applied earlier in cleaning out these anchors. There are different methods for changing HDMI ports that don't require wicking. Do what works for you. I understand the aversion to using wick if you're not comfortable with it. Sexy. Now with my micro pencil and bent chisel tip, we'll tin our port. Now with a ball of solder on our tip, going to run it over these pins and pre-tin our port. I'd rather chase bridges here than on the board. The next change to my procedure that I've made, I will wet all of this solder, these hidden joints, and the pins before I place the board. This is all with a preheated board as well. This is kind of a hot swap method, but not. This solder is all lower temperature than what you'd be using for the hot swap method. Okay, they're all wetted. Let's go ahead and place our port. Probably going to have to touch up all these pins. No big deal. I'm going to do it anyway. The main thing is I want to get those anchors for sure soldered down. Do a little bit of a nudge test. Alright, those hidden anchors are soldered. Excellent. Now we'll come in and deal with the pins. I do not drag solder. I hate chasing bridges. Sometimes I still bridge anyway and end up having to do so, but not enough to make me stop doing pin by pin, especially on this board. Check and see how we did. Excellent. We flip the board again so that we can work the anchors. For that, we're going to switch back to our 120 watt big chisel tip. Put some solder on there to get things started and just feed solder in. With the board being hot, we get better feed through and it will adhere to the port. I've had cases where it actually fed through, but it did not adhere to the metal on the port. That was a really weird case. Alright, and that's what we're looking for. Good feed through on the other side. Excellent. Now I'm going to set the board aside and let it cool down a bit. Turn off the preheater and we'll clean it up and give it one last inspection and then reassemble and test from there. I have an announcement. I, being Mage Repair, am moving back home to Texas. My primary service area in Texas will be North Richland Hills, Hurst, Euless, Bedford, and Fort Worth in general. All mail-in services will be temporarily paused through the month of August and will resume sometime in September when I've worked out all the logistics. If you're a local shop in those areas and need micro soldering services, please reach out. Talk to y'all from Texas in September. Let's have a look at it. That all looks excellent. Nice fillets under every pin. Good feed through on the anchors. Factory fresh. All right, moment of truth. And it looks like we're working. Giving it a wiggle. Make sure it doesn't black out. Everything seems sound. Excellent. If you got value out of this video, I think you'll get value out of this one. And I'll see you there.